Hey guys, my name's Carly. My sobriety date is October 4th, 2014. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about my story and then talk about how I go beyond and what that means to me. So, you know, I come from a great family. I got all the love that I needed. I got everything I ever needed and everything I ever wanted. And I talk about this a lot when I share and I speak. Is the fact of the matter is that if my family's love could have kept me sober, I would have been sober a very long time ago. But there was always that sense of feeling like I didn't fit in, and I struggled with that throughout my whole life. So just a little bit about my story. I struggled a lot in school. I had a pretty good group of friends. But again, I always felt like I kind of didn't fit in with them, right? They always got better grades than me. I always thought, oh, they're skinnier than me, or, my sisters were better than me, right? So when I first tried alcohol and marijuana, I was a freshman in high school, and I just remember feeling an overwhelming sense of peace and sense of belonging, and that's, I didn't know I had this disease, right? I didn't know I had the disease of addiction. I partied just like my sisters partied. I partied just like my other friends partied. But the difference is that they could take it and they could leave it. I couldn't. I obsessed over it. I wanted it all the time. I couldn't stop, right? And so I graduated high school, and I just barely graduated. And I went to college for a year. I went to Long Island University, and, pretty much from then on, my life became really unmanageable, and I kind of went into this really dark place. And, those friends from elementary school, middle school, and high school didn't really want to be around me, and I pushed them away. I began smoking weed every single day, every single night. I started drinking every single night, and that was my life. That was my new life, right? So didn't do very well in school, came home, lived with my parents, and I started dating a guy, and he was my first boyfriend, and, I realized that he was into opiates, and me being the person that I am, I didn't want to fight with him about it, and so I chose to do those opiates with him instead of leaving him. I couldn't fathom losing a boyfriend because it was my first boyfriend. And so I started doing these opiates with him, and my life seriously went downhill from there. I started stealing, I started lying, my relationships with my family were horrible. And I specifically remember this time where, there came a point in time where, like, my parents knew something was wrong and they didn't really know how to deal with it, and which I don't blame them. But, I started going to see a psychiatrist, and she put me on naltrexone. And so it's like 3 days into not being on opiates. And this is a little fast forward, right? So I've been doing Percocets for about a year and a half now. And I'm 3 days into not doing them. I'm extremely sick. And my family, they're like, they don't know anything about opiate withdrawal, right? So I'm like, it's okay. I just have a stomach ache. But anyway, I remember the moral of this part of the story is I remember sitting at dinner, and it was after my older sister's art show, and she's an amazing artist, and her boyfriend was there, and I remember sitting across from the table from him, and I thought to myself, wow, I wish I could be as normal as him. I wish I could be as happy as him. I wish I could be as successful as him. Why am I the way that I am? And just like a feeling of like complete defeat and hopelessness, right? So that's how I felt when I was, I was only 3 days sober, but I was sober, but I didn't have another solution, right? And I didn't know of any other solutions. So from there on, I went in and out of treatment centers, in and out of sober houses, and the first treatment center I went to was Mountainside, and they really started me off on my path of recovery. They really showed me the way, and unfortunately, I wasn't ready, and I wasn't willing to stay sober then. So fast forward again, October 3rd of 2014, I overdosed, and my parents found me, and I was dead. And luckily, the EMTs brought me back, and Narcan saved my life. But that's what started my recovery journey. And when I say that, what started it is, I was very, very, very scared of my thoughts. I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared that I could get high again or I could overdose again because honestly, my first thought was I have heroin and needles at home under my bed hidden, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to get high because I'm in a ton of pain right now. And from that overdose, I had heroin-induced pulmonary edema, which basically means that there was a ton of fluid building up in my lungs. So I was in a ton of pain. I could barely walk, talk. It hurt to breathe. And people had to help me with everything, right? So that was my first thought. Like, I'm getting out of here and I'm going to get high. That didn't scare me. What scared me was those thoughts, right? What scared me was my thoughts, and my thoughts are really dangerous if I don't have a solution in my life. So I decided to go to treatment again, and I went for 45 days, and then I came up to Portland, Maine. I went to a sober house that was extremely structured, and it's exactly what I needed. So I couldn't talk to guys. I got a sponsor right away. She was my first sponsor. She sponsored me for 2 years, and she's absolutely amazing. I can't even describe to you this woman and that house, that sober house, absolutely saved my life. I mean, my first sponsor really showed me the way and guided me, and I have so much love for her. And so I did these steps, right? The 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that was my solution. And, personally, that's how I got sober, and that's how I stay sober. I know there are many other ways to get sober, and however you do it and however you stay sober, props to you. I think it's really, excuse my language, but badass, no matter how you get sober. So from there, I managed a sober house for 6 months, and then I got my first apartment with one of my good friends, and I had about a year sober then. From there, I lived by myself for a little while, got another apartment with another good friend, and now I have this beautiful home that I can call my own. My parents helped me buy a house, and, that's, my life today is just like, it's unbelievable, like where I was 4 years ago compared to where I am now. It's like a absolute true miracle. And, I couldn't do this without my current sponsor, who's also absolutely amazing. She's so gentle and so kind, and she's just really amazing. And, my higher power, who I choose to call my higher power, who looks over me, who I know is there every step of the way. My friends up here, When I was getting high, my friends used me and I used my friends, and it was, what can I get out of you, right? That's what I thought friendship was until I came up here and I started getting sober, right? So I was at my first sober house, and I remember this woman saying, hey, do you want to ride so you don't have to walk in this snowstorm? I was going to volunteer. And I immediately thought, what does she want out of me? What do I have to give her in return? And it was nothing. She was doing it out of the kindness of her heart, right? And that's what friendship is to me today, right? Being kind, being loyal, being there for somebody. I never did that when I was getting high, and I never received that when I was getting high. My friends up here, if I needed them, they would be here in a heartbeat, and vice versa. My family, I have beautiful relationships with my family. You know, I get so emotional when I talk about this because my life 4 years ago was not like this at all. You know, my sisters were very angry at me. My family was really scared. I didn't have friends. And, you know, today my sisters are my best friends. I have beautiful relationships with my parents. They trust me. My life is really amazing. And you know what? I sponsor really amazing women too. And I've been with them since the beginning, and it is really beautiful to watch somebody go from being so hopeless and so desperate to somebody who is just like glowing. And one of them just celebrated a year, and the other one celebrated 2 years, and it's just like it's really my favorite part of this program, right? Helping another alcoholic. But anyway, so that's kind of what my life looks like today and what my story is about. And you know, I just want to point out that nobody's perfect, and I make plenty of mistakes, and I struggle a lot. But all in all, my life is really beautiful. So what does go beyond mean to me? So go beyond to me means doing something out of your comfort zone, right? Doing something that you've always wanted to do but have been held back and feel like you can't achieve that goal. So one of the things that I want to focus on is the fact that in October of 2017, I went back to school. I'm currently in a bachelor's program to get my degree in psychology and addictions, and it's my 5th term, and I have been on either the president's list or the dean's list every single term. My current GPA is a 3.94. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm not saying that to boost my ego or be self-seeking or any of that. Or maybe I am being a little self-seeking. Who cares? When I was in high school, right, and when I was the last time I was in college, I could not get by. I could not function. And, you know, in college, that was mostly due to the fact that I was using and drinking all the time. But in high school, right, like, yeah, I was partying on the weekends and I was smoking weed, but I didn't get the help that I needed, and I didn't understand how to do it, right? So I remember freshman year, I had to go to summer school, and my vice president saying, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be doing this to your parents. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I was so humiliated, and I had so much shame and guilt around that. But like I said, the fact was, like, I just didn't know how to do school, if that makes sense. Like, I really struggled with it. And so, like I said, in October of 2017, I went back to college, and I worked very hard to find something that I thought was going to work for me. So I take all online classes because I know sitting in a classroom makes me extremely anxious. I really don't learn well in a classroom. And taking classes online, like, I can kind of go at my own pace. The teachers are very supportive. I still, you know, go to seminar once a week. It's just what has worked for me, and I found what worked for me, right? So Um, it just blows my mind that coming from somebody who barely graduated high school, failed out of the last college she was in, can have a 3.94 GPA right now. And I like, it's funny because like I'll call my mom and cry because I got an 85 on a test. Like I literally called her and was like, "Mom, I got an 85 on a test." And she like laughs at me because she's like, "Carly, do you remember like when in college you would get like a 65, or in high school you'd get a 65 and you had that's passing, and you'd like go party about it. You know what I mean? You'd be so excited that you got a passing grade. It's an 85. Like, shut up, you're amazing. You know what I mean? School is so important to me now, and it just blows my mind that I even say that school is so important to me. So yeah, my mom also jokes around, even though it's not really a joke, but she says the minute I graduate, she's gonna throw me a rager because she's so proud of me. This is my life today. These are the promises from getting and staying sober, and my life is truly a gift. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoyed what you heard. Thanks.